to mind. It says, broad is the way that leads to destruction, but narrow is the path that leads to life. Man, I tell you what, following Jesus is a narrow path. Man, this world is completely cool with you following all kinds of gods, worshiping all kinds of ways, but man, the moment you talk about Jesus, man, it all changes. And Jesus' message is extremely hard to follow because he says you're supposed to pick up your cross and you're supposed to follow him. That is not a broad path. That is a very narrow path. So what does it mean to pick up your cross and to follow him? Well, Jesus came to do the Father's will. And the Father's will was for him to lay down his life as a ransom for many people. And just like Jesus laid down his life for the Father's will, Jesus invites us to pick up our cross and follow him, which means we lay down our lives for the Father's will as well. This means that we die to ourselves, we pick up our cross, and we follow him. Everybody's cross is going to look a little bit different, but they're all going to function the same way. At the end of the day, Christ has invited us to abandon the building of our kingdoms in pursuit of building his kingdom. And so what that means is we are constantly in a war right now to surrender our will over to God, surrender our desires over to him, and that right there is going to feel like a crucifixion. The moment you feel like you can have your cake and eat it too in the Christian walk, there's a good chance you actually veered off the narrow path and you're starting to be a broad path walker. I want you to think about that as a blue-collar Christianity approach to life. Hopefully what that'll do is it'll make you change the way you view your work. The Spirit will lead you to that narrow path in your workplace. Every workplace has a tendency to get toxic and not be a true representation of God's will on earth. I wish I would have grabbed a hold of this back in the day when I was in law enforcement. It would have totally revolutionized the way that I viewed my job. Everybody's job is an extension of worship. The question is, what are we worshiping? Now, if you're worshiping Jesus, you're on the narrow path. Your life is looking more and more like him. But man, if you're worshiping the world, you're going to be ate up with envy, self-agenda that mows people over, all about advancing themselves, not going that extra mile. And man, it leads to a toxic work environment, and it actually destroys the workplace community. We as followers of Christ got to be advocates for that narrow path, which means we're going to be the transformation in that workplace, no matter how much it costs us. We're going to do what's right. We're going to love others as Christ loved us. That's what being a blue-collar Christian is all about. Whatever your workstation is, man, seek to ask Christ to open your eyes to what the narrow path looks like so that you can be a light in the dark world and hopefully revolutionize whatever station you occupy for the kingdom. There's a whole lot of Christian people out there going to church, and they think that Jesus exists for them to increase their agenda. Their prayer is not, God, your will be done. It's, God, do my will. Man, that's been going on since the beginning. But Jesus Christ, he's invited us to die to ourselves and live for the kingdom that is imminently coming. And that right there means you're probably going to have to take a back seat, turn the other cheek, to love your enemy as yourself. You're probably going to have to do good to those who are mistreating you, slandering you. You're going to have a hard time living in a world but not being overcome with what it says is important and valuable. And so my encouragement for you is whatever walk of life you're in right now, whatever job you find yourself doing, ask God to show you what the narrow path looks like at your occupation. What it's probably going to do is it's probably going to lead you to value people over money. Be a servant leader rather than a tyrannical dictator. Make you go the extra mile when nobody is saying thank you. And ultimately what it's going to do is it's going to paint a picture over time of what it would have looked like if Jesus was doing your job in the workforce. So follow the narrow path. Stay off that broad path. Seek Jesus. See you next time.